again. This is Anita. I'm Visitor Experience and Senior Education Coordinator here at the Harriet Beecher Stowe Center. This is part 2 of our exploration of this statue, sometimes called African Women at the Well. And we left off with this question of doing some more research, trying to find more information about it, which of course I started with every historian's favorite tool, Google, putting in the title of the work as we know it, African Women at the Well. But the interesting thing that happened when I did that was I didn't get just this sculpture, but many sculptures just like it with different names. And so our guess is that Charles Cumberworth, when he did it, was working from a bronze cast and making lots and lots of copies of the same image, which probably meant that people could call it whatever they wanted when they were selling it to customers, when they were putting it there in their home. And so just to give you a little bit of a sense of some of the names that we found, sometimes it's referred to as North African maiden carrying an urn, the Nubian water bearer, femme à la cruche. And even Harriet Beecher Stowe, in her interview of Sojourner Truth, the incredible activist who was a contemporary of Stowe's, in her interview of Sojourner Truth, called it a name I've never seen in any other place, Negro woman at the fountain. And I want to back up for a second and take a whole piece of what Harriet Beecher Stowe said in this interview of Sojourner Truth, because it also casts a whole new light on this statue and on this story. And so, reading from that article, which Stowe titles The Libyan Sibyl, she says, Sojourner Truth still gave the impression of a physical development which in early youth must have been as fine a specimen of the torrid zone as Cumberworth's celebrated statuette of the Negro woman at the fountain. Indeed, when I recall the events of her life, as she narrated them to me, I imagine her as a living, breathing impersonation of that work of art. So if this isn't sitting right with you, you're not alone in that. Thinking about what Harriet Beecher Stowe has just done in that description, relegating Sojourner Truth to the torrid zone, right? This place far off, taking Sojourner Truth out of the context in which she exists, and at the same time, objectifying her as a specimen, Stowe's term, and as an object, as the sculpture itself. And when I thought about this, it brought me back to the whole idea of the anti-slavery bazaar, of Chapman's description of Charles Cumberworth as the sculptor of the torrid zone, and how much those descriptions and these impressions of white activists of this work are pushing actual activists out of the room, out of the space, taking attention away from living, breathing, in the room Black people, and sort of reimagining them far off, right? If this is a dynamic sculpture, it's happening someplace else, in a romanticized place where not even the sculptor probably stepped foot. And if that's the case, and we think about this as a sculpture that was gifted to Stowe, as it was by these anti-slavery activists, then we have these multiple layers of what does activism mean for these folks, and to what extent are they setting aside anti-slavery activism as a white, genteel affair, something that takes place at holiday bazaars where people spend extravagantly to raise funds for the anti-slavery enterprise, or by writing a novel in the privacy of their own home, or by gifting that statue to a novelist as thanks for her work, who then keeps it in her house and has only those who are invited in to be able to come and see it. One last thought about the name of this work too. So I found a lot of different titles for it, a lot of different ways to name what this object is. But the one that really floored me was the one held at the Louvre in France. And this was very different. The title was Marie revenant de la fontaine, which means Marie returning from the fountain. And I want to note that title because all we did was change the words a little bit, right? But we've got two key differences. We've got her activity in the title. She's not being, she's doing in that title. And most important to me, I think, she has a name. We don't know where this name comes from. We don't know if it was the name of an actual model, We don't know if it was a name that Cumberworth assigned to her, or if this was a religious reference, right? In Catholic France, Mary, Marie, same thing. But whatever the title we settle on, it makes clear how easy it is to change the perception of a work of art, depending on how you're describing it, how you're imagining it. And what this story really tells us is how much we perceive an object can be shaped by the view of who is presenting it to us, and how just changing a word, changing a name, can change what we've seen and what's been right before us the whole time.